Hi Upstream, welcome back to my kitchen. It's been a long time since we have actually baked together. We're gonna make chocolate chip cookies today. And if you have your recipe, number 1 says to preheat the oven to 375. So I already did that. This recipe isn't gonna take very long to whip up. So I started by preheating my oven because by the time it's up to temperature, we'll probably be ready for some cookies to make. The second one says, in a small bowl, combine flour, cornstarch, baking soda, and salt and set aside. Now I've actually already done that. I have my flour in here, and then I put my 1 tablespoon of salt, my 1 tablespoon of baking soda, and the other trick ingredient here. You'll see, if you've made chocolate chip cookies before, you might be kind of perplexed about some of the ingredients. One of the secret ingredients is cornstarch. This will actually give you a silkier cookie. Now it says you need an 1/8 of a cup. Nobody has an 1/8 of a cup measure. You just use your 1/4 cup measure and do half of it, okay? So just put your cup measure just in the bag, just like this, get about half full, and then put it in the mix. Then we're going to just lightly mix this and set it aside. And now we're gonna do our creaming ingredients. So some of you might notice this recipe might seem a little bit familiar. It's actually just an altered recipe of the one that's on Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies. But my family, we've used that recipe for years. We've made a couple of different alterations. One being cornstarch, and the second being in this step. Normally when you make cookies, you use butter. Butter, I've been told by different bakers, butter makes everything better. Well, in this case, we use Crisco, and I gave you your own Crisco cubes. The reason why, so you just unfold it, put it in there. The reason why we use Crisco is this actually makes a higher and chewier cookie. If you use butter, it's still great, but it'll flatten out the cookie. So if you want a higher and chewier cookie, you use Crisco. So I put the Crisco in here, and then I need to add my sugar, my brown sugar, and my vanilla. Now in all chocolate chip cookie recipes, you'll have 2 sugars. You'll have your brown sugar and your white sugar. So you need 3/4 of a cup of each. The brown sugar gives it a richness, a depth of flavor. So I got a half cup measure here. I'm gonna pack it down. And so then all I need is a 1/4 more. So I need half of this one that looks like, oh, that just made it. And then I'm gonna do, again, 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Half, and then a 1/4. Then I'm gonna add my vanilla. Now, if you made fudge with us, then I didn't give you an extra bottle of vanilla because you had one from earlier. If you didn't make fudge with us, then I sent you one. This is actually some vanilla that my friend made me. It's awesome. I'm always having a hard time getting it open. And you need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And normally I wouldn't be pouring that over the bowl because I could just see like me getting scared or something and dump all the vanilla into that bowl. So normally I do it to the side. And then we need to beat that until it's creamy. Now you can use a regular spoon and stir. You're gonna have to stir for a bit. I'm actually gonna go use my KitchenAid, and then I'll be back to show you the rest of it. Okay, so I have it, it's all creamy. And again, you can use a mixer for that, or you can just mix really well with your hands. Not with your hands. Use a spoon. Okay, and then number 4 says, add eggs 1 at a time, beating well after each addition. So I'm just gonna add 1 egg. I'm just gonna beat that egg in. And add the next one. And do the same. As you can see, I'm actually using a spatula to stir for right now. I'll switch to a spoon in a bit, but I like using a spatula when I have to stir something that's kind of wet. Now we actually add our flour mixture. So I'm gonna switch to my wooden spoon. It says to gradually beat it in. So I'll add some and stir. Then add the rest. And you noticed we wait for the chocolate chips until the very end, until this is basically incorporated. Now this part is actually good to do by hand because if you do it in the mixer, it can actually get over mixed. And so as long as you can, try to do this part by hand. Now, when it gets to this stage, so it's kind of crumbly and it's almost coming together like a dough, that's when you add your chocolate chips. So we use a cup. My sister puts a whole lot of chocolate chips, so it's mostly chocolate chip with a little bit of dough. Not my favorite. So I go for only a cup. And then we're just gonna mix this until it's a really nice dough. So our cookie dough is ready. And you're gonna take a tablespoon. Now usually in your kitchen you'll have two sizes of spoons. One's like a regular teaspoon, what you would use to eat with, and then the one that's slightly bigger. Use the one that's slightly bigger. And just do this. Just roll them into a little ball. You want to make sure that they are about the same size because again, just like we learned with the taco-tatoes, if they're different sizes, they will cook at different times, which means you'll have some that aren't done and some that are, so there are some that aren't done and some that are burnt. So you always want to make sure they're about the same size. Like this one, I'm going to add a little bit more. Depending on the size of your pan, like with this one, I can actually get a whole dozen, but you want to give the cookies space in between so that they don't all mesh together, okay? If they were like this, all these cookies would just become one big blob and it wouldn't actually get done in the middle. So you do need to space them out like this. And then once I have all 12 done, I'll put this in the oven and you're gonna start baking. It looks like it says on here, bake from 11 to 14 minutes. We'll test it at 11 to see if they're done. We just want them to start getting brown around the edges. At least that's how I like them. If your family likes cookies that are a little bit more done, then go ahead and start them at 12. But for my family, we like them a little bit more chewy. So we'll see in a bit. So we're ready. This is gonna go in the oven. I'm gonna start at 11 minutes. And then I'll check them at that point, because again, we just want to be just golden brown. And while that's in there, I'm gonna take my next cookie sheets and get these all ready to go. So these ended up going for about 14 minutes. So I have this left over. My batch made 19 cookies, so I'm gonna put this one in. And then as the instructions say, you do need to leave these on the sheet for about 2 minutes to cook. It's been 2 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and take them off and put them now on a cooling rack. If you don't have a cooling rack, you know what? Paper towels works just fine. In fact, most of the time, I actually just use paper towels. But the reason why you let them cool on the cookie sheet for 2 minutes to let them firm up a bit. And then you want to take them off. If you let them cool on the pan, they'll actually stick to the pan. And then you'll be like really having a hard time getting them off. So now you can let them cool and then wait for your others to come out of the oven. I hope your cookies turn out fabulous. See you next time.